video games literally designed to just flood your brain with fucking dopamine. So you're not even controlling most of your life. And I think that to answer your question, one of the biggest reasons that people who are quote unquote lost and all that kind of stuff is because what I've been learning most of this process is that 95% of our reality is controlled by the subconscious mind, not the 5% of it that's the conscious. And that's how we tend to be programmed to view the world. Like everything that's conscious is what's really going on. Man, that's just 5% of your defense. So it comes down to habits ultimately, because we're pretty much on autopilot, even if you're aware of it, 95% of the time. That's creating 95% of your reality. Learning that really shifted for me. And then just learn. So that means learning to reshape your habits. When you can hack that 95% as much as humanly possible, and that's only going to happen through habit and intense feeling. Those are the two things the subconscious mind understands. Then you see dramatic changes. I mean, the last year of my life, I wouldn't even recognize myself where I'm at. And a big thing came from getting off the worst dopamine thing I had that drove me crazy, which was those drugs. I mean, I'm 2 years clean, but then you get off alcohol, any of those things. And if you look at what the mass society is really pumped with, what is it? A bunch of fear on the news, because that'll get right into your subconscious, and dopamine. People who watch a gang of TV, that shit is flooding your fucking brain with dopamine, and we're constantly being flooded with this shit. And so you're running around on caveman autopilot, very easy to manipulate with no conscious control of your reality. And even when you're aware of that and you really start to go at it, I feel like, at least from what I've seen doing it intensely now for a good while, you'll see dramatic changes. And I really believe if you read just about anything from a religious text to whatever, it'll boil down to, we've talked about thoughts, and that's the biggest thing, is that, the subconscious is 95% of what's going on. It's still going to be a challenge, right? It's still going to be a challenge. I mean, it'll be a more positive one and you'll have more say in the equation. But I've got to a point where it's like, it's hard to judge anybody who's on some bullshit or whatever, right? Because 95% of what they're doing is just bullshit that's been programmed into them and started a vicious cycle. They're pretty much like a zombie. You know what I mean? And it's not to say I'm better than anybody else. I think that you don't want to get into being more self-righteous when you discover and start implementing these things and you see vast improvement on yourself. It's more to understand and have empathy that, like, hey, dude, that guy at the grocery store yelling at somebody about some dumb shit who was being a fucking asshole. I mean, he's basically just an unconscious fucking caveman, and you could boil that down to everything else because they don't understand that 95%, and that's psychology. You could say, fuck Neville Goddard and all the other shit. I wouldn't. I think it's all great shit, but you could even take all that away. Psychologists will tell you that, like, 95% of your reality is subconscious, and that's controlled by really powerful dopamine chemicals. And from the second you wake up to everywhere you go now, we are bombarded with shit that's meant to program your subconscious by people who want to fucking steer you how they want to steer you in mass and flood your brain with dopamine, which is so hard to break any kind of patterns with dopamine. And because it's so fucking powerful. And if you change those two things, you have way more conscious awareness and control over your reality, your thoughts, your actions. Anybody lost just isn't aware of that. And I mean, how could you blame them, man? It's not an easy thing, and not everybody's aware of that,
Okay, man, I'm gonna let you go. The show's over.
All right, bet. Well, thank you for having me on. And,
hey, we'll get you back on soon.
All right, sounds good. That's what's up. And peace and one love to everybody out in Coffee+Bonghits land. It's always a pleasure to be on here. Thank you, Jessie.
Nah, you know they love you. Fuck yeah, man. I'll see you.
Hell yeah, bro. Have a good one, brother.
Yep. Blam. I love having Diction on. It was funny. He went on that 30-day no negativity cleanse, and I rock with a lot of negativity. It's one of the sacrifices that I made.